What I've come up with is vertical clamp storage. This works really well in very interesting spots where traditional clamp storage wouldn't work. I'm digging it, I'm using it around the shop, and I'm gonna show you guys that as I go. Yes, I uploaded this same video basically yesterday, but it is a lot different. In that video, I didn't talk, I just built the thing, and most of you guys got it, but there was a lot of you guys that brought up a lot of good questions and concerns, and so I figured I would address them in this video. So what this is this is 2-inch strips of plywood, one for the backer and one for the rack itself. Half of those pieces go over to the drill press where they get 1.5-inch holes drilled in them, spaced 1/4 inch apart. They get screwed together in an L shape, and then it gets hung up here on the wall, and then you can put your clamps in here. So these clamps, one clamp goes over the top in the next hole, and then it lays on the clamp underneath it. And by doing that, it really is a very compact way to store clamps. This is very similar to the strips that you find like in a supermarket, where there's a little strip with a bunch of packets of something on it and they're just meant there for like little add-on sales. This is the exact same concept, only we're able to store something that we actually want to buy, or maybe we don't want to buy them, but we need them, so we're going to store them. Now, one of the questions that got brought up an interesting amount of times was, what happens when I want to clamp in the middle? How hard is it to get in or out of there? I'm just gonna say ahead of time, don't be that person. Don't go for the clamp in the middle. Don't go for anything in the middle. Just take the one off the top. I have the 6-inch clamps up top. I have the 12-inch clamps on the bottom, and I have them separated that way so that I know where to go to get whichever size that I want, because I'm a fairly organized person. However, in those two categories, I also have the clamps that I use the most, which for me lately has been the Jorgensen's and the Bessies. And then underneath that, I have some of the Tate Tools clamps. I have some of the Harbor Freight clamps that I reach for when I need more clamps and I don't have quite enough on the bench. So that being said, there should never be a reason why I need to reach in the middle to grab a clamp, but you can see how easy it is just to do that. Yes, it's a two-handed operation. I don't know why that's a problem, because I did see that comment got brought up too, is that you would have to use two hands. Some people have worse problems than others. I don't know what to say about that one, but it's very easy to take the clamps out, to put them back in. It's just, I don't know, it just works. You can take them off about 2 at a time like this. So if I really need to get a few clamps and take them over to the bench, it's very easy. Putting them back in usually is a one-handed operation, or a one clamp at a time. But so is every other storage solution that I've ever seen. You usually don't get to put them all in there unless you do like I've done before, where you throw them on the floor or in a bucket that you can then carry to somewhere else. So some of you guys wondered how this idea came to be, and while that might sound sort of boring to the average viewer, I do want to show you guys that just so that you can get a rundown on the thought process of this, because what I'm going to show you here might open your eyes up to some other possibilities that you might have in your shop that you don't know yet. So if you guys saw my workbench upgrades video that I did, you guys would have seen that I put a sliding dead man in my bench. I don't use it all the time, but conveniently it has these 3/4-inch dog holes there. And one day, while using one of the track clamps and needing to get it out of my way, out of necessity, I just sort of put it in one of these holes and just laid it there. Works pretty good, right? So I decided to try using it for track clamp storage all by itself. And what do you know? This is a great way to store track clamps. And it's convenient, it's tucked in here, but it's right down below where I can grab one at any time when I need to use it on the bench. This is what spawned thinking, how can I hang F-style clamps the same way, because I reach for those all the time too. So originally, I had a smaller version on the end of the bench here. And this is just held on with a couple of clamps just because I didn't want to permanently install it, drill a bunch of holes in here, because I didn't know how well it was going to work. That actually works really well, because I can have a handful of clamps right here. I can have some over there on the main rack, and then I can have some over here. This does not get in the way where it's at, because I know someone's probably going to say something. I don't clip this side of the bench based on how the layout in my shop is. I don't clip this corner when I walk past, the same as I've never kicked the feet at the bottom that everyone said I was going to kick all the time. But it's just because of how this bench is designed and the design of the layout of the shop. But if that's a concern for you, just mount it somewhere else. So over here next to the bandsaw, I have the 24-inch clamps up here, and then I have the 36-inch clamps down here. This one's built a little bit different. I don't know the overall width of these, but I believe it's 1 3/4 holes with a 1/2 inch spacing. That's because I wanted it to be a little more robust. Plus the holes need to be a little bit bigger for the convenience of these. If I made another one, I'd probably double this up, and that's only because the jaw is so tall that they kind of sway in there as you put them up there. But again, 24 is on top, 36 is on the bottom. I know a lot of people like to have the typical YouTube setup where you have all your clamps together and it's all pretty and everything else. I'm not as worried about being pretty. I also don't use these longer clamps, typically speaking, at the same time that I use the shorter clamps. So having them be in the same location just doesn't make a bit of difference to me one way or another. But again, to each their own. Works the same way. You can see it's a little bit more sloppy, and a lot of that is just the fact that there's so little surface area here for them to rest on because they are longer, but it works and they stay put, doesn't get in the way of the door. But again, this is a very awkward little space that otherwise would probably go unused, very similar to the other clamp rack if I didn't put this here. So hopefully that gives you guys some ideas on how to use these things. So again, it's very easy to just reach in and grab one of your favorite clamps, which is for some reason in the middle because you didn't think about putting it on the top where you would want to use it all the time. I digress. Just throw it in there. It's quick and easy. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it doesn't need to be. I'm more worried about functionality than I am about being pretty, clearly. So it works really well. If you like it, cool. If you try it, let me know. And I think that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully I answered all your concerns and your questions that you guys had in the other video. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching as always. We'll see you guys in the next video.